You know, I give you a lot of crap on this show, Tyvis Powell. I tease you because of your belief in yourself, which I actually respect secretly, but I'm not emotionally stable enough to admit that, so I make fun of you. However, I also have to acknowledge one other thing that you do very well on this show. Many things you do well in life, but one thing you do extremely well is you know what's up when it comes to, like, you call it accurately.
Oh, thank you. I try.
Yeah, because we have brought up the Michigan sign stealing thing plenty of times, right? And every time I will say they're cheaters, they suck, team up north, it's all either national championships BS, all that's BS. And what do you always say when I bring that up?
I would say that the national championship that they won is credible because they were under investigation. So I would actually give them that. Now, anything prior to that, I would say, okay, that's an issue.
Okay. And so Jack Sawyer yesterday, he was on the Not Just Football podcast, Cam Heyward's podcast.
Oh, look at that. Buckeye on Buckeye.
A great Buckeye who I can't stand because he plays for the Steelers. However, great dude. Just I'm sad that his great career happened in Pittsburgh and not for a team I actually enjoy. Well, however, that all said, he has a podcast with co-host Hayden Walsh. And Hayden Walsh was asking Jack Sawyer about that Michigan cheating scandal. He said, how much did the sign stealing did you think really play into, and then he trailed off. And Jack Sawyer interrupted him and said, I'll say this. I think they beat us straight up last year, obviously. We all know that. And the year before, but my sophomore year, we left the field and we were like, this feels weird. We lost by double digits, and it felt like we beat the bleep out of them all game. And that's the one that I feel like every Buckeye fan, regardless of how you feel about the national championship year.
That's CJ Stroud's last year he talking, right?
That's the game where you can go look on the sidelines and there's, Connor Stalions is standing next to, both coordinators. He's right there. And especially on defense, he's calling things out. And Jack Sawyer brought up that play that we have heard other players bring up as well, where they had an offensive set where they had never thrown a screen pass to the tight end or whatever it was out of that set. Nothing was on film with that. But because of the signals they called, Michigan knew that's going to be a screen pass, and they snuffed it out. And he said in this interview, and other Buckeyes have said this, like, that's the play where we were like, something's weird. How did they guess that right? And the answer is they didn't guess. They knew. They knew it was coming because they knew enough of the calls to figure out this is going to be a screen pass. Regardless of what formation you're in, once you make the call for what it is, they knew, it's going to be a screen pass, and nobody bit on anything other than that screen pass, and they snuffed it out.
Yeah, I mean, that's, like I say, that whole thing is, and the funniest part about it all is I still don't think nothing's going to happen to him over this. I mean, it's just, I feel bad for, like, guys like C.J. Stroud, Garrett Wilson, all those guys who were on that team who, when you looked at it, it was like, it's only been the only year that Ohio State came in and it was maybe some controversy of who was the better team was 2023, 2 years ago. Not last year, the year before that, the Kyle McCord year. That was the only year where I was like, it could go either way because both teams I thought was really good. Outside of that, Ohio State has been the better team every time to me. Yeah. And the fact that they lost in the fashions that they lost, it was kind of like, makes no sense. Like, really? Like the one where they lost the home game before the one I think he's talking about. The one, Like, to me, when I watched that game, first of all, their defense was playing really good that day, and obviously it was because of him. But it was also some things on our defensive side that we were blowing coverages. We had a guy running open in the post. We missed a tackle on Donovan Edwards, and he was able to take one for a long run towards the end of the game. So it was also things in that game that I point to and was like, this also is our fault as well. But there is no denying the fact that if they know what you're doing on defense, like literally know the play, like it's kind of hard to beat that.
Yeah. And that was I'm trying to think. Was that the year? That was the year prior to Jim Knowles coming in.
No, that was his first.
Oh, that was his first year.
It might have been his first year.
That's right. Because at the end of that game, I think that was when everybody said, "Well, it takes like 2 years to really get his defense down."
Because it was that was the year where he was comfortable with he would give up an explosive. It was always some explosive play every game he would give up. But he was like, I'm not worried about that because we are an aggressive defense.
Yeah.
And it was at that year when we was like, yeah, I don't think that's going to work. Then the next year, they gave up no explosive plays. The Kyle McCoy year, they gave up no explosive plays at all the entire year, but yet they still lost that game.
Ugh.
And I was like, well, they need to find a happy medium, and I think that's what you got this year.
Can I just tell you how gross it is for me that we are sitting here going, which Michigan loss in particular are we discussing? Because that's something that was a foreign concept when you played.
Yeah.
It's something that's been a foreign concept for the better part of 25 years around here, ever since Jim Tressel got on campus. And I don't like this. This is, for those of you who wondered, what was it like to be a Buckeye fan in the 90s? Minus the redemptive factor of the playoffs. But I'm telling you right now, and I don't think I'm making anything up. I think I'm telling the truth here. John Cooper would have at least one, if not two, national championships at Ohio State if they had a playoff system. Because he had one team, or the Rose Bowl team for sure, I think could have beat anybody. They just, for whatever reason, had their issues with Michigan.
I think when I look at these past few years, it was one thing that I never thought I would see, or I thought it'd be a long time before I saw it. I never thought that I would see Ohio State where we are. It would be a group of kids that come in and go their entire college career and not beat the team up north. I never thought that would be a thing. Like I figured, for all great rivalries, it swings back and forth. But like to see y'all 0 for 4 like that I couldn't imagine. Like that's incredible to me. Like they went. It's a group of guys that's never got a pair of gold pants.
I'm telling you right now, the '96 Ohio State team would have I believe would have absolutely won a national championship. I think the '98 team would have had a really good shot at it too. That was the team, the '98 team, that lost to some guy named Nick Saban when he was coaching at Michigan State. And then little did we know how much we'd hear about Nick Saban over the rest of the next 25, 30, whatever, 25 years, whatever it was. But that '96 team, that was the team where they played Rice to start the season 70-7. They played Pitt the next week, and that's the Mark May game. For people who knew that you remember when Mark May used to go on and constantly rip the Buckeyes?
What happened to Mark May?
I think I don't know what he's doing now, but no one wants to listen to him.
Ohio State,
that's the game. That '96 game where the score to that game against Pitt was 72-0. Like that.
Oh, that's what happened. So yes. Ohio State scores.
They had a punt return for a touchdown with only 8 players on the field.
Dude, it was
Ohio State scored a punt return with 8 players on the field.
That '96 team.
That's egregious.
They played. They had a top 5 matchup with Notre Dame that year where they won at Notre Dame 29-16. That was like probably their closest game. And then they played Penn State. It was a 3-4 matchup. Ohio State was 3, Penn State was 4. They beat them 38-7. They smoked Purdue. They smoked Wisconsin. Iowa was a top 20 team. They beat them by 12. They blanked Minnesota 45-0. At Illinois 48-0. I mean, the only hiccup they really had was they were close at Indiana because it was the trap game before the Michigan game.
27-17.
And then they lost to Michigan 13-9. I mean, I'm telling you that, like, you go look at that roster though that was on that. Oh my God, they had some dudes. That was when they were having stupid quarterback competition the whole year too. They didn't even have that was Joe Germain and Stan Jackson going back and forth. They couldn't totally figure that out. They had both of them platooning, and yet they were like just an unstoppable team. Joe Montgomery, Michael Wiley, those dudes, David Boston. I mean, Orlando Pace,
Miller,
obviously, you know about.
Stanley,
Vrabel was on that team. Fickle was on that team. I mean, that was just a bunch of dudes.
Orlando Pace.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was the year after Eddie was done. I think it was the next year after that.
Andy, the Big Cat.
Big Cat was, oh, God.
Sean Springs.
Damon Moore.
Ahmed Plummer.
You had some
Winfield.
dudes on that team. I'm telling you. I am telling you.
They was loaded.
They are one slip in the secondary from that team being a national champion. But let me tell you right now, if that '96 team could have said, hey, instead of going to the Rose Bowl, you get 4 games to redeem yourselves like this team had, I don't care who they would have put in front of them. That team ain't losing again. No chance.
They have some names on there.
If that 96 team wins the national title, do we talk about them like the 0-1 Miami team?
Probably. Yeah, they probably, you know what? Actually, you're exactly right, Nate. They probably get talked about like that 0-1 team. And I'll be completely fair. I think that 0-2 national championship, if there was a playoff, that might be one that doesn't happen. Just because, not because that team was bad. They went undefeated. They beat everybody they played. But they had so many games where it was by the string of just, oh, man, they just need this one thing to break. That's Holy Buckeye, right?
They're Florida State in 2014.
Yeah, right. I'm telling you, I feel like maybe it would have evened out with that 96 team and the 0-2 team. Maybe with playoffs, it would have been reversed. But that 96 team for sure would have won a national championship. You can never talk me off of that one. I will go to my grave with that.